Hi guys, so we're putting together the doll finally. It got printed sometime last night. And today we're actually getting to stream her for the first time and actually see how well these joints have been working. Probably not as well as I was hoping, but we're gonna hope for the best. So I'm Brett Moore, and I first started designing the doll. And this is Chana. She's the lovely person who understands dolls and will actually be helping me stream today. So we're just going to kind of talk about the doll, talk about what kind of went into it, some of the printing processes, which are fun, terrifying, and possibly one of the greatest things ever by the end. And do even a little bit of talking about stringing in case no one's ever done it before.
It's hard for the first time. I've done it like 8 times by this point, so
yeah,
I'm good at it. But
yeah, every time I see her get a doll, she just restrings the whole thing. And she's like, no, it's not perfect yet.
I'm picky about the stringing. It has to be right.
I know, because I've seen them come in too loose, too tight, and
Even from the biggest companies, sometimes they just are not quite right.
So yeah, so I will never be offended if someone says, I had to restring your doll, it wasn't right. Because that's what you're supposed to do with these. You're supposed to play with them.
Well, and make it how you like it.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. I'm distracted by the video. I don't know what I'm doing. I do know what I'm doing.
Chana, you're totally right.
I do.
Oh my gosh.
I do. You've watched me do this before, haven't you?
Yes. Yay, the arm's working. Okay, so kind of the first thing I'll kind of talk about that's kind of weird is, though it's an odd choice and though it's kind of going to be interesting once we get to the clothing process, definitely, I decided to make sort of some stubby sort of limbs. And Chunky. I call it stubby. I don't know why.
The brand is Sweet and Chunky. She's chunky.
That's true.
We discussed this.
She has chunky stubs.
Yes. That sounds weird.
So the feet kind of come out of these huge, large chunks at the end. Same with the arms. And I've always kind of seen like all these animated characters with all these fun limbs that kind of, I don't know, they feel like they're swooping around and they feel fluid. And I kind of wanted to make that something that was movable because I've always seen statues of them and they're always so pretty and look like they should be animated, flying around, and then they never do. So I wanted to try to make something that would be fashionable and beautiful because I love the idea of dressing things however you want them, but also
Part of the point of dolls.
yeah. But also something that would feel actiony, something that felt like it was meant to run around and play, and whenever you took it out with you in the park or whatever, it would look like it belonged there. I just love the idea of a character that's active, and so that's what we're hoping to kind of create, and we're gonna see how this
one
goes.
piece.
I think so.
Oh yeah.
Those pieces became like one piece. For context, there's an elbow and there's a forearm, and they kind of just went together so perfectly that they're locked in there nicely.
Okay, I made this string too big, so
Okay.
that's fine. That happens all the time. So we're just gonna pull it through on the side and just tighten up the knot.
Gotcha.
So it works. It's actually better.
So we don't have to completely redo it.
Well, it's better if you string it too loose at first because then you can tighten it according to how you want it.
Fit nicely. Oh my gosh, this is exciting for me. As much as I am the person making this doll, I've never owned a doll. That was actually that was actually my reason for making it. Was I always saw her dolls and loved them, and every time I looked, I always said, "Oh, that one's cool, but I wish it had this," or "Oh wow, like that style looks good on that doll, but it's $800 and it's a special edition, and maybe I just didn't want to get a special edition." So I decided
I like dolls with the big hips.
Yeah, you do. which we succeeded here.
Yes, I love it.
But and I come from a background where I was a game designer and I did a lot of sculpting, and at some point I said, why not just do it myself? Why not make exactly what I want? So this is my first doll, and I've based it on a lot of other dolls that I know of, using hers as an example.
Not directly copying, just like,
No.
how do they do that?
No, yeah. Learning to figure out, so that I wasn't just kind of guessing my way along. I didn't want to just wing it. Instead, I decided to take an outside perspective and learn about something new and build on that. But yeah, it's a fun experience, and it's so rewarding watching this go together right now.
Okay, she's still a little loose, but
Can I do my thing now?
yes. I think she's definitely going to need like hot glue sueding, just because the 3D printing materials are very slick.
Okay, so what does that mean?
So what that means, and people do it on resin dolls all the time.
Mhm.
I did it on half of mine. I actually need to do it on some of my others. What you do is you take a hot glue gun and you just line the edges of the joints in hot
Okay.
glue, because that hot glue gives it just that little bit of
Rubbery grip almost?
yeah, that
Yeah.
grip, so that you can pose them easier. They don't like slip in and out of poses. Their arm doesn't randomly fall as much. I mean, it still falls, but not as much.
That makes sense. I mean, I'm gonna get a little gross here, but like, it sounds like a lot like the, was it the cartilage in between bones?
Oh yeah,
and- yeah.
That's exactly what it does. Is it acts like cartilage.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and I'm pretty good at that now. I've done it. I did it
Okay.
on Jack, and a couple others. I've gotten pretty good at it. The only thing we'll have to be careful of is hot glue works with heat, and this is plastic. And plastic
Yes.
melts.
I've had
So-
many times transporting these plastics before.
Yeah, she
the-
needs hot glue.
We for the initial printing, because sending it straight to a resin printer would be expensive, and there's clearly going to be mistakes the first time. So this is coming from a PLA printer, which is a for those kind of new to the new technologies of printing. PLA is a biodegradable plastic, and it melts a lot easier. It's a little bit weaker. But a great thing for prototyping, because even if we mess up, we throw it in the recycling bin and we know that it's going to recycle nicely.
High five.
So
Keep talking.
it's great, but it does also mean that if you want to transport it in the car, it will melt. I think even some of these parts have melted at points where I've had to kind of push them back out so the joints will fit.
Yay, Texas.
Yeah, Texas is fun and nice
And hot.
car drives. Yeah, we're lucky to have a nice, cool, and shady day right
Oh my
now.
gosh. She can like support herself on her arms. Okay, you can play with that for a minute.
Oh, I will play with it all day.
I'm gonna work with this part now.
Wow, it does move.
Yeah. It's a little tight, but she'll loosen up as we
Okay.
play with her.
Yeah. So we'll see how the joints are working. Oh, good.
Yeah.
She can raise her arm.
Okay.
Awesome. So yeah, I've actually I did a job in Kansas City once where I had to move some prints, and the prints, I took the printer with me with all of the prints I was kind of doing at the time, and the prints on the way melted, and I had to take a hairdryer to it on the way to bend it back into place.
You can tell me about that.
I had to actually, because I was in the middle of prints. I was like, okay, I'll just take the printer with me and finish it all when I get there. And yeah, I put it in my cup holder in my car, and the sunlight from just 2 hours of driving melted the whole thing and bent it out of shape.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I had to completely redo it,
Oh, I'm so proud of my
or
hook.
reposition. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Came out nicely.
I handmade all the hooks myself so that they would fit around all the specialized pieces. So I'm pretty proud that they
Yeah.
work.
we took our wonderful hardware trip and had to keep ourselves from buying every single tool in the store. And
Yeah, we went to Home Depot and it was like, ooh, shiny. Like, no.
Stop. We don't need a lathe.
Don't buy half of Home Depot.
I think I almost bought it. I don't even know what I almost bought. It had 2 handles on it, and all I know is it had 2 handles, and it looked awesome. I thought it was smart. You thought I was weird, but I was about to buy it.
Oh yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
The metal handle.
Yeah, we still don't know what it is.
I don't know, but
We
you
almost
liked
bought
that
all of
handle.
You almost bought insulation.
No, I wasn't looking at the insulation. I was looking at the craft foam. Well, it wasn't craft foam, but it was like foam.
That's insulation foam.
Okay, well, you know what that makes? That makes toy swords, alright? So,
Yeah, all right,
I at least
fine.
have a reason.
I'm all for sword fighting.
Yes.
So before we put on this head,
Sorry, it's too late.
oh no. We should definitely talk about what's going on with our eye system right now. We didn't want to just go ahead and buy eyes because we had no idea what would fit. The main reason for that was this doll's eyes actually come back a little further, and that was looking at a lot of the anime dolls that are out right now and learning that most of them weren't working like real faces. They were kind of, or in the way they were in anime. They were just kind of flatly placed onto the face, just kind of on the front. But we wanted to come out to the side like a real face would, and like they do in lots of anime where they redraw the entire side of the face just to make it look right. So this added a lot of questions for how big the eyes need to be. We were actually looking on the internet and saw someone else printing a doll. I think they're making it out of wood. Actually, it's pretty cool.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, and they made their own eyes. So it's like, oh wait, we can just make anything. Why not just make the eyes? And so we're going to reprint the head because we had to do a lot of modifications, kind of drilling holes into the skull. But we figured out the eye size now. 26 millimeters now?
Yes, 26
Yeah.
millimeters.
So the largest eye size available, but there are a lot of good eyes in that size. And it covers the whole range and makes it look really, actually pretty adorable, honestly.
Well, and for other dolls in the future, it's possible to like edit them down to B24, which is the standard size SD. Well, SD anime dolls.
And that's kind of something good to talk about. This is, right now this isn't a particular doll, actually. It's a prototype base. So the idea of that is this, the whole sculpt took almost like half a year at this point. It's been that long already. And
Well, it's because we were in school at the time.
yeah, definitely. School took delays, but it still took a long time to even get this far. And from here on out, it would be great to not have to test out these joints. So this is kind of a base for us to build on. And we plan to not standardize it, but to make it very wildly designed from here on out. But to have our joint systems already placed and set out, have the general shape set up, so that in the future we can just kind of make cool creatures, people, whatever. Basically just add to instead of having to start from scratch.
It's just stressful because it's like tension. Ah!
Yeah. So yeah, it would be a lot of fun. I mean, it's a very much anime-inspired doll, and it means that I can kind of look around and see what eyes are out there, what people have been using, what have people not been using even to play with, and try to bring those to 3D, so that every doll kind of has their own facial structure. I mean, one could be really, really sharp looking, one could be very round looking. One could be a swamp monster, and one could be an alien from outer space. Another one could be just a normal old human being, because those are good
Humans
too.
are good too.
Yeah, you know, we
There's a lot of them out there. But
live here. So,
I personally vote for Swamp Girl.
oh yeah.
Okay, we're almost put together. I think she might be like the tiniest bit loose, so it should
Okay.
take me just a few seconds to get her tightened up. But I came pretty close with my guesstimation.
Awesome.
Like, look at that. So that's pretty close.
Yeah, that's very close. It's a
For-
little foot off. Since we're getting a lot of close shots, and people might have noticed.
Someone's in my face.
each of our legs is different, and that's due to a lot of prototyping and testing. Every time we make I make a different limb, it has updates because between limbs, why print the same thing if it's not working? So actually, our right leg is the most recent of the legs, so it has a little bit more flexibility and a little bit better joints. And our right arm is actually the most recent right arm. Well, most recent arm, of course, it's the most recent right arm because it's the only one. So they're both going to act a little bit differently, and honestly, it's going to be good to find out right now how exactly they're going to react and what exactly we need to do. Because there's going to be a lot more to do from here, but it's looking pretty good so far. She's doing a fun pose right now.
I know.
It's like, I'm not strung tight enough.
I know, I'm fixing it.
Half my skull is missing.
Yeah, we don't have magnets for the back of the head quite yet.
Yeah, we need to get those measurements.
Yes. Oh. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Try that.
It is like a 2-year-old fighting to put on clothes.
Dude, that is what dolls are like. It's like having a small child and you're like, just put clothes on.
And they're like, but I'm going over here and I'm playing and oh no.
Okay, I think it needs tightened ever so slightly more.
Yeah, the right leg's a little loose now. Now they're both a little loose.
Stringing is definitely an art. It is not a science.
Thing.
Trying not to break her.
She's got strong plastic though. I've thrown her all of her parts across the room, across the street a few times on accident, just from transporting her.
Stringing is wicked. Like there have been so many times where my dolls have bit me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
I can see that.
I've bled from restringing dolls before, partially because I didn't quite know what I was doing at that point, but yeah. Also, strong tension.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine if if the main section was cut, it would just go.
Usually where they bite me though is, actually yeah, when I'm doing this.
It's really cool seeing her right now because I've been looking at her on a screen for a good half of a year now. I finished the original sculpts within like 2 or 3 days, honestly.
Yeah.
It did not take long.
What took forever was figuring out the joints.
Exactly. So, I mean, I've known what she's going to look like for a long time, and I even cut a lot of the joints early on, and then it was just subtracting out and hollowing out, and there's a lot of just steps in it to where I've known what she's going to look like. But this is actually getting to see her present in real life. Let's see here. We've got some pretty good hand motion. We don't have too much just because it kind of would ruin the form. But of course I'll always be looking into finding ways to make her more flexible. Let's see here. Our knees are already having most trouble, so let's take a look at where they're sitting. Okay.
And that's the fixed knee.
This is the fixed knee. So it's doing okay. I think we can lop off a little bit there just to make it not stick out like that.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of a problem switching. But otherwise it's doing what was planned. The foot movement's doing pretty good. Because all we need to do really is adjust, maybe a little more on this side.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we got sitting.
Yay!
Yay! The part I wasn't sure if it would work.
Have you tried to make her stand yet?
Not yet. Up!
Oh!
She stands!
She's doing like a cool pose.
Okay, when we have better knees, I think it's going to work a lot better, but...
Yeah, well, and the table
standing.
has holes in it, so...
That's true, but look at that.
Yeah, she's standing pretty good.
Wow. We'll also be able to make sure that, right now we've hollowed everything, because the 3D printer has a zero fill option, which really helps us save on plastic and also just time. But these will be a lot heavier in the final, I think, so I think she'll stand a lot better. Let's see about her body.
Honestly, out of the whole doll, this is my favorite part.
Yeah.
It's just got such a good, like, curve to it.
Ooh. Okay, we've got... She can do that. Let's see. Head movement. It's pretty solid, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, when you're moving it around,
have some
try to
more
get
up
it to
and down.
stop in a certain area.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Sideways she can move. The up and down's a little rough.
Yeah.
So we'll have to look into how to do that. Otherwise, that's pretty good.
Oh, she's so cute.
There we go. There we go.
That's better.
Yeah.
Okay, so just if you pop her knees out a little. Oh, she's so cute.
Oh, and her arms can twist. So now we know. All right. So that is our first prototype. And yeah. She is definitely adorable. And maybe next time we'll have a nice little skull plate on her so that she's got a whole head. So far she's looking good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks guys for watching, and hope to see you more on all of our social media on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And
We are Sweet and Chunky Dolls.
Yep, we are Sweet and Chunky Dolls. So, all right. See you guys next time. Bye.